Since 1945, Weatherby's been building the finest firearms and ammunition in the world. And today, we're proud to continue that legacy from our facility in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast, where we dive deep into the adventure, the gear, and the people who live for the hunt. Today, we're heading north, way north, to the wilds of Alaska, where hunting takes on an entirely different meaning. Whether you're chasing moose, caribou, wolf, sheep, or anything else in the last frontier, it's not just about the tag you draw or the rifle you carry. It's also about how you get there. For Alaskan hunters, the ability to fly into remote country can be an absolute game changer. It opens up untouched wilderness, creates opportunities few will ever see, and brings a level of adventure that's unmatched anywhere else on Earth, but can come with its own set of unique challenges. So buckle up and settle in as we talk about what it takes to fly, hunt, and in some cases survive in the most remote corners of Alaska, where every landing strip is an adventure and where this hunt starts with the sound of a prop turning over.
Man, Luke, you've upped your game on your intros.
Yeah, we leave the office for 2 months and he's on another level over here.
You get what you get. So, all right, we are talking today about an Alaskan adventure that you guys pretty much just got back from, Kobe and Adam, where Adam, you joined your good friend Steve, who we just did a video of a few weeks ago from last year's hunt, and that was actually one of my most fun. The hugs were awesome.
Aviators, I think it was called. You go to the YouTube channel and check it out. So yeah, we went up there and hunted last year. Goat and a bear and fished and
duck
hunted, and that was last year. So then this was kind of season 2 we just got back from, I guess you would say.
It was season 2. And
yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got quite the budding friendship that's been going on with Steve. He's such an interesting guy and a pilot, co-pilot like you, and it's pretty cool. So
and he was just up here a few weeks before you guys even went on your trip, so that was cool. He came up and visited,
which was cool because I go to Alaska and shoot like bears and moose, and he came down here and we went prairie dog hunting.
Yes.
yeah.
But here's the deal. I think he had the most fun he'd ever had in his life. So we were out here prairie dog hunting.
He doesn't strike me as a guy that doesn't have fun, whatever he's doing.
No,
but
we did slow-mo video of on the all-in of prairie dogs blowing up, and it was like more fun than he has brown bear hunting in Alaska, I think.
He's a pretty good shot. He got to do the cool underground range, and I was in there helping him get his gun sighted in. It was pretty fun. Yeah, he's good.
And also, so the first year when Kobe and I went, we also got introduced to his friend and also pilot, of course, Leo. And so Leo joined us again this year. So it was actually the 4 of us, Kobe and I, and Steve and Leo in both of their Super Cubs. And so Leo's just an awesome
salt
dude.
of the earth, great human,
super cool guy.
And shoots a Weatherby.
Yeah, he has an old AccuMark. He bought in maybe I want to say probably around 2010 or something in 338 Lapua, and he's killed everything. He moved to Alaska from Texas. I don't know, I'll say 15, 20 years ago, and he's killed everything up there with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was
super
cool to see, and anytime you get those two together and they're Super Cubs, you know it's going to be a good week.
Yeah. So Leo had already killed a moose prior to us getting up there. He had a caribou tag. So Leo was wanting to really chase caribou while we were there, and Steve just had his heart set on brown bear, and then I had my heart set on moose, and then Leo had never shot a wolf, so he was up first for wolf. So we kind of just had a slew of tags.
Smorgasbord.
Had some shotguns as well.
Yeah, ptarmigan, hoping for ptarmigan and ducks when we went up there and stuff like that. So when we all had licenses to.
Sounds like a proper Alaskan adventure.
Yeah, it kind of started maybe kick us off. It started a little hairy because I remember I got text messages of like on the weekend of you guys coming from one hunt and then trying to get to Alaska, and things were changing pretty quick. I remember we were trying to track down gun cases and all kinds of stuff.
Well, Kobe, Brenda, and I were out in western Wyoming doing a mule deer hunt. Ended up going a little bit long. Long story, but when we could get the flights out to where we needed to, I was going to fly us to Alaska, and then weather ended up getting bad last minute. So long story short, last minute I said we were on our way back from hunting mule deer after being gone 5-6 days. I go, hey, Kobe, you're going to have 2.5 hours at home.
Yeah. I'd been gone the whole month already. I was on the road for 20 days at that point. You got a 45-minute flight home. I got a over 6-hour drive home. I think it ended up being like
My
7.5. So, yeah, no, it was great. I had to the thing about repacking for that was you had to think about the future.
Well,
I'm
Alaska's tough. Everything's going to be wet. You can just count on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but the other thing is I had to pack my bags to go on Adam's plane in the commercial flight like I was getting ready to go on a Cub, too, because I was going to have to get on a Cub as soon as I got there. And so repacking with flying in a Cub in mind, like you can't bring any extra.
And we've talked before about how light you pack.
Cameron, those batteries are light. Yeah, we actually, so backing up, I go, we couldn't get up to Alaska in order to get the flight to the remote village that we wanted to in time. It was going to be like 3 more days.
Yeah.
So that's why I go, hey, Kobe, we got to get to Seattle tonight because flying out of Sheridan is real easy and often not. And so I go, hey, Kobe, we're going to fly my plane to Seattle. Just park the plane somewhere, hop on a flight, get it up to Anchorage, and then we'd get to Anchorage because we were in Western Wyoming, got back over here to Sheridan, repacked, flew to Seattle in my plane, barely made it to the airport, actually missed our flight, got on the last flight out to Anchorage.
Got there at 2 a.m.?
Got to Anchorage at 2 a.m., and then Kobe's Uncle Rich picked us up. You guys all know Uncle Rich. And then we had to be back at the airport at 6:30 a.m.
You should have just stayed at the airport.
Well, it was a different airport.
Well, yeah, we went from from
And
Anchorage to Merrill Field.
We got a nap on his bed and couch for 2-3 hours, and he's the official Uber for Weatherby.
He picks us up at 2 a.m. I'm like, Kobe, we can just get an Uber or something.
I'm like, he'll be pissed if we do. So
Uncle Rich.
he wants to.
The last time we went, he took us to see a glacier, right? That was the last time we had
that.
too.
Yeah.
So
out on a shrimping boat. So, anyways, so like kind of coming off the other trip, a scramble of a pack, even just the flight out to Seattle and like barely getting there. There's just a lot of adventure and of that, but it took us a long time. And so, the name of last year was Aviators, and we definitely like flying my plane, then we hop on commercial, then we're going to hop on a charter, and then we're going to hop on Super Cubs. So, I mean, in all with this whole trip,
I think it was 11 different flights.
Yeah.
Is what it ended up being.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like that's the name of the game for Alaska's logistics, but you guys kind of took that to the next level there.
Yeah. But, the next morning we got out to the native village we needed to get to, and it was waiting for Steve and Leo to pick us up at that point.
So Steve and Leo had gone down because they just are up there doing Alaska things. They're commercial pilots, and when they have time off, they just go play. So we're on the mule deer hunt, and they're like, dude, we're just out here with moose and all the things. You should get up
sunny
here.
and 75.
It was phenomenal weather. They're like, just get here. Well, meanwhile, we're not turning up big bucks. Finally turned up big buck. By the time we shoot it, they'd already been out on the Alaska Peninsula playing. They were landing like their Super Cubs in like volcanoes.
Yeah.
Like they were just out there sending these crazy pictures.
Wow.
Giant bears.
And so that's why we're like, we got to get up there, man. They've been waiting for us. Well, we land in this remote village on the Alaska Peninsula, and it is not Super Cub weather by any stretch of the imagination. So our adventure started out by hanging out in this village. And
Charlie.
it was fun. We got to hold walruses and walrus tusks and found these old glass balls that were 50 to 100 years old that were part of the fishing stuff. They gave us smoked salmon. We got to watch a little Sunday afternoon football inside with a whole bunch of other smoked things. Smoked meats, that is. We didn't smoke other things.
Thanks for the clarification.
So we had this whole day, and Leo and Steve were waiting for a window to be able to shoot in because ceilings were just too low for them to come over and get us because they were probably, 40, 50 miles away in the Cubs, staking out somewhere else, waiting until we got in to come. So Kobe and I got a full village experience.
Yeah,
that's fun.
How many people do you think were in that village?
There's 80.
80 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, population was 80. And we learned all the details. We know about everybody over there, that's for sure. And but, man, I'll tell you what, the smoked salmon they gave us in these little bags, it was vacuum sealed and frozen when he gave it to us. And we packed it out there. And I remember a couple days later when we were moose hunting, like, I actually put it in my ramen. Like,
Oh,
the
nice.
smoked salmon came in handy.
We recently got a little
Yeah.
handout of some smoked salmon that we didn't plan on. Like we were about to go in and like, hey, here's some smoked salmon. We're like, sweet. And it was like individual packs, like one for each day. And we're like, we got smoked salmon for breakfast.
Where was this? Alaska?
Just here in Wyoming when we were hunting together.
Wait,
I just,
they don't have salmon here.
I know, but somebody came in from Washington and they brought
Yeah.
some.
Oh,
and they had like, it
nice.
was like honey glazed or something. It was like sweet and salty and
it was
I
great.
miss it.
The only problem with
I
this in
miss
the
it.
backcountry is like your hands just smelled like fish for days.
And you're
Yeah.
in like brown bear country.
Yeah.
Who like salmon.
Did not have to worry about that. It was warm enough. We were worrying more about snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the whole plan of this trip and the premise at the beginning is we're going to hunt in this one area. There's some different units and non-resident, resident. You know, me being a non-resident, they're residents. We're going to start with moose and knock one over in a couple days, and then head to a different unit where Leo and I were going to hunt caribou. And then all the while, Steve was wanting to scout for whale carcasses and different things that were going to get eaten by brown bears so he could go brown bear hunting. So that was kind of the whole. And then in there, maybe there were some hot springs. There was, I mean, you know, there's you have about 75 options. You end up doing a few.
Right.
So we had
There's almost too many options.
duck
there.
options, ptarmigan, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. For us, you know, unless you're there for 40
Unless you
days.
live there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the plan: is knock a moose over and then head down for some caribou, and that proved to be harder than we thought due to the weather. So what happened is they come down, we get a little weather window, and you know there's those volcanoes kind of all along the Aleutian chain there down the Alaska Peninsula. And there's a lot of good landing spots for these super cubs up on the cinder areas of this, you know, that sand stuff that's there. And so we went down and scouted out. Actually, it was an area they hadn't even landed, you know. Of course, it's a couple loads because all our gear and stuff like that. But we ended up getting positioned in an area up there just along the kind of the Aleutians to go hunting. So, yeah, we set up just a little spike camp there and put a tarp up under the wings of the super cub and set up our little moose camp kind of in station number 1. And that's kind of how it started. And it started really slow. So I'll take you back just a little bit. This is the 5th moose hunt I think I've been on. I've shot 1 moose before this hunt. I think it was 30 days of moose hunting, 3 trips to Canada and Alaska before I finally shot a moose. Luke, you've done a slow moose hunt with me before.
I've done one
of
fast.
those.
Well, no, I did a slow moose hunt and then a very
Yes.
slow moose hunt with you.
Right. That's true. And moose is either on or it's not. And when we got there,
Yeah.
you should have been here yesterday, right?
Yeah.
There are moose everywhere.
As soon as you leave.
yeah, it's like you should have been here yesterday or next week's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But what do you want to do in the tent for the next 6 days?
Yeah.
Play cards? Do you guys have cards?
No, we were busy trying to stay dry. So weather came in, and we spent 2 to 3 days hunting this first area and saw a little bull. We'd seen, obviously, some bulls from the air coming in, but, no hunt the same day type of deal. And
None of them were real close to camp either.
No.
They were a couple miles, yeah.
Yeah. You ever bash through alders in Alaska?
I have.
Are they wet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thick. Dude, we one day got trapped in one of the worst ones. I thought I'd been in some bad alder bashing, but it was pretty nasty.
It took us, the last 200 yards took us 25 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
At least
They were just
Like-
grabbing you. Was it
thick.
swampy
Just
too?
so
or
thick.
No
No?
swamp because you're up on like top of these cinders, but it was just as thick as it gets. At one point, I actually had the Insta360 like on my, like where you put your trekking poles in your backpack, and
Right.
pulled it up and was recording a little bit. So I got a little bit of footage of that, and then it actually got me doing like a face plant. So I haven't looked at that footage yet, but I do have footage of face planting in there.
And then you
but
can't even get up because it's
Yeah.
so thick in there,
I'm just
Man.
looking back at Adam, like laying on the ground, like help. So.
But so we spent some time in there just bashing around. We saw a small bull one day, picked some blueberries. We ate a lot of food, and like our tent got pretty wet. Just everything started soaking in and started to get wetter and wetter, and there was just kind of no moose. And we'd have to move the planes around because we'd kind of time into the wind and up against the alders depending on which way the wind was coming. And the whole fear down there on the Alaska Peninsula is weather and wind with these little super cubs. So the advantage of a super cub is it's got a low stall speed, right? You're in the 30 something miles an hour, 40 miles an hour before, that's when you get lift.
Right.
And so if your winds are over that, your plane could get lift.
With or without you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's really handy when you want to fly. It's not as handy when you don't want to fly. And so, that's one of the big concerns we had the whole time. And so we'd go out, reposition the planes, and kind of scoot them around or fire them up and do some things to try to keep them out of the wind. So a lot of plane weather maintenance while we were there. It's like the flying wasn't as scary because then you're in control when you're in that cockpit when it's tied down, And so we would do where we'd in the cinder dig a big ditch and put logs in there and then tie it up to that for tie downs. We tie to the Alder. So our tie downs were like a key thing so our planes wouldn't blow away.
Yeah, I can't remember what that is called, but like they use it in ice climbing where
It's got the word dead in it.
Dead. It's an anchor point, dead something. I can't remember, but
And everybody can watch this and Google it, But
yeah,
Drop
but
it in the comments.
It's like a stick that we buried in the sand.
Like a
I
big
know.
log.
For tension.
Yeah.
It's an anchor point, right? So like when you don't have a tie down like an Alder or something, so we had to build some of those with logs and just doing that whole thing. And then first 3 days it didn't like pour, but it dang near rained the whole entire time. Like it was just wet. So we're wearing waders or gaiters and boots, whatever you chose. I didn't take my waders off like dang near the whole time.
We were in waders 80 to 90% of the trip because
They're just wet.
no, in our stuff, I don't care, name a brand, it was being used, everything. Even Steve had a rubber jacket
Yeah.
and it was soaked to the bone. And so a couple days into the trip, you could wring out jackets, and obviously we never had a fire. And so like everything was soaked to the bone.
That's hard.
Mine were the last waders standing, actually. Some old pair of Sims that I have. Everybody else, the part of the problem is when you go Alder bashing, and then you're cutting and slicing up your waders the whole time. But the waders were the key for the trip.
Yeah.
From a gear
Absolutely.
standpoint.
And then, what I would do is you keep your dry stuff in like a dry bag and you keep that dry. Like that's your emergency. Like, hey, we got in a bad situation. We're stuck out here. Plane went down. Something like that. You have to have your layers that are dry. And then eventually a couple days in, you're putting on wet stuff.
So, Blake, the whole second half of the trip, we put on 100% drenched clothes.
Yeah.
Picture they just came out of the washer, didn't get in the dryer. That's what we were putting on.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
all the way down.
my raincoat didn't give out till the last day, so I actually have I had like a merino base layer and then a wool hoodie from like Duckworth. Then I didn't take that thing off for like 8 straight days. I was like sleeping in it like
noise.
no.
One of the classic things of the trip, we'd often fly next to each other, and I'd usually fly with Steve, although we did little separate a couple times, and then he was often with Leo, and you just kind of figure out how to get out of the plane and how you're doing everything. And so, like, on the radio, like just one day, like we just hear Leo, and he's usually really quiet. Like me, Kobe, and Steve dominate the conversation.
Yeah.
And we just hear this radio, and he's like, I feel like lighting up a cigarette so I can stop smelling Kobe in the Super Cub cockpit. I don't think Leo smokes. But it was the funniest line.
It's like
That was after we killed the moose. That was at the end.
It was.
But yeah, it was bad.
Kobe's wet hair is turned into like a dog, like
Yeah.
a wet dog smell.
That's tough.
Yeah.
It was I smelt myself, and it was not good. Like that's when you know.
The water and thermal management is just key.
It's tough.
It's key, and it's a losing battle for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
we
what ended up happening was we actually had a Starlink, and then we brought some backup batteries, but we had some cable mismanagement, so we couldn't hook up just a regular USB-C. Long story short, to some good backup batteries we had. So we had like one DeWalt drill battery for the Starlink for the whole time, and we had no idea of if there was a minute left for internet or not.
Oh, because it has no meter.
It just has the 3 bars, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And so we
10 minutes a day, basically.
we'd like kind of power it up, check weather and stuff like that while we were up there for flying. And basically we check weather when we're up there in this area and maybe a few days in, and then they just go, okay, the storm of all storms is coming to the peninsula. We got to get off here and go find some shelter. And they'd found a pretty old rundown state cabin that they'd stayed at before over the years. We're talking, what do you think, 15 by 15 state cabin maybe?
Like an office room.
Yeah.
A small one with, happened to have, a few bunks and just kind of an old rundown thing. There were, wood around it with spikes on it, that nails poking out to, kind of bear mat stuff so grizzlies don't get in. But, it kind of wood caving away and, just an old rundown, non-used state cabin.
But shelter.
On state land. But shelter and not a tent. And so we decided if we had an out in weather, we were going to go weather out this storm down there.
So you're flying to this cabin?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so, probably a, 20, 30-minute flight, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, it was about 25, yeah.
And a lot of this was fuel management. So a lot of what we had, and, they, kind of like any Super Cub pilot there, well, I got a stash over there. It's like stashes of fuel up and down the peninsula and stuff. But
there's so many aspects to when you introduce the airplane in a remote location.
But too much fuel, you get too much weight.
Yeah.
Not enough fuel, that's bad too.
Also not good.
I always taught the only time there's too much fuel is when you're on fire. But, which is true as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had some capable planes to get around, but we said, hey, let's go do this. And at that point, there was only 2 or 3 days left in the moose season.
Yeah, I remember I got a couple messages from you like, doesn't look like moose is going to happen. Weather's awful, super wet, trying not to die kind of thing. It's like, oh, this sounds like a great adventure.
I think that's what we were doing. That pretty much sums it up.
That checks out.
That checks out. So we end up getting down to this cabin, and the weather does hit, and the weather's just awful. And at that point, the first morning we went out there, we came back 2 to 3 hours later into this cabin, and at that point, everything was drenched, just everything. And so we tried to hang it up, but obviously with no heat and stuff, like, just wasn't happening.
There's no fireplace, and it was like some sort of old style heater that you were not going to get going. But we did have a little hand water pump that was
it was all taken apart and on the ground, probably worked 10 years ago. Leo fixed it.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It was rusty water.
Oh, Leo MacGyvered it up, and I had a roll of duct tape in one of my packs, and we used that.
A full roll of duct tape.
A half roll.
Wait, he was saving weight, so it's a half roll.
Yes, obviously, weight and space when you're flying in a Super Cub. But yeah, we MacGyvered that up. Had running water. There was a bunch of expired food in there. And mountain houses.
The most recent thing was 2018. Most recent expired.
Yeah, there were mountain houses that are expired the year I graduated high school.
And they last for 30 years.
They last a while.
Old
so
cabin.
there's a bunch of just kind of stuff there. And all right, this place hasn't been really.
So we ended up
used.
We kind of got a little cabin fever, I guess you'd say.
But
and we'd go out and hunt, just get drenched, see nothing, come back, put our only pair of dry clothes on in the cabin. Leo would put old World War II aviation book that he had on his phone. He'd play an old audio book, and then we made it up to the air, and so it'd just be on in the cabin, and
that's cool.
It was really trying
cool.
to keep dry and in the cabin and just wait it out.
Just 4 smelly dudes sitting in a wet cabin.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds
it
so
checks
fun.
out. And then the coolest part is you had Camp Crocs, that you'd use, but if you'd step off the porch in the wrong spot, you'd step on
nail.
3 inches of nails that were half inch apart for the things
bear
too.
Nails.
Mm-hmm, the bear nails.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that was kind of our home away from home, and we thought we'd just kind of go in there for a little bit while the storm continued. So there was that. One day we decided to go out ptarmigan hunting, though. I think before. Yeah.
This was.
Yeah. Had you seen ptarmigan to be like?
I thought we killed the moose.
Did you see?
Spoiler alert.
I can't remember. Well, there's a thing on the screen.
That's
what?
True.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you guys just decide we're going, or had you seen ptarmigan out?
No, that was after. Sorry.
It was after.
Okay, we didn't do ptarmigan yet. Sorry.
JK.
Jump in the story.
Yeah.
JK. So, okay, let's talk about moose hunting then. So at this point, second to last day of season, what happened is the moose season in this unit was closing September 25th. The caribou was closing the 30th. That's why we were going to do this and then reposition ourselves for the other.
Yeah, makes sense.
Second to last day, it's probably when I sent you a little message or whatever. It was like, yeah, I don't know about this. The weather, you just sit out there and get pelted in the face. Horrible visibility. We've seen a lot of bear sign, not a lot of moose sign. And so there was like a break in the afternoon, and we're like, well, the second to last day of season, so it's been the 24th.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and then there was big weather coming in the next afternoon, so we're basically like, well,
That's true.
we have this evening,
There's-
and then the morning. We probably don't have a closing day evening hunt.
Because it'd be like, it was supposed to be coming in 50 mile an hour plus gusts. So we knew that was coming in, not pleasant to hunt with, nor do moose necessarily come out in that kind of weather.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty much, that night or the next morning, then we were done. And so we went out that afternoon and started calling. And, one of the things there obviously is, when you put a moose down, you guys have both Alaska moose hunted, that it's just the further away you get, the more you realize, okay, this is going to be
What
hard.
now?
And we were in some tussocks, like non-landable, even with good tundra tires type of terrain. So when we were getting there, it's not like there was an LZ landing zone. That was close to where we were going. So the cabin was getting further away. But we're like, well, let's go try to find a moose. And so we were just kind of calling up in there, and there was nothing. Until there was something. We turn around and look, and halfway between us and where we just hiked from the cabin, I spotted, like with my naked eye, 450 yards, a giant bull moose. We'd seen one non-legal moose on the ground up to this point.
Yeah, we'd seen one.
That's it.
This was
The whole entire hunt.
4-pointer, 50,
Zero
50
here.
wider.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. 4 brow time.
4 or 50 inches or what?
Yes.
Wider than
Yeah.
50 inches. Yep.
Correct. And so we.
funniest part of the whole trip.
Oh, you tell it then.
So from my perspective, I just start filming right as Adam's like, moose.
450. I range him real
Yep.
quick, and I could just tell he's got a
Steve's
big
like-
satellite on his head, and I'm like, that's legal.
Yep.
That's over 50. I've
That's
moose hunted a
huge
lot.
moose.
Yeah.
Steve goes, that's a shooter. And so Adam's getting his bipod out, putting on his gun to shoot. And Steve, an inherent bow hunter, goes, let's get closer, and just takes off running.
Through the tussocks.
So Adam's putting his bipod on here, and Steve
And
starts
Kobe's
running.
filmed with me a lot, and done a
Yeah.
lot further shots than that.
And so I have my film gear just spread out as well. And so
And Steve's
I'm-
like, boo!
he's like 100 yards away already. I'm like throwing stuff in. Adam takes off running. Somehow I put a camera strap in my mouth, and I'm like carrying tripod
What are
here.
we doing?
My one camera is still filming. I pick it up. It ends up like pointed at my face. I'm sure it's gonna be a great video. And we just cut. We had to drop off this little knob
Where
so
he could see us for
immediately-
maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we were going to be hidden.
Yeah, so we were hidden that whole time. And so yeah, we start working our way over to that next little rise.
Steve
Yeah.
sprinted.
see
Literally
that. I could see him getting really
sprinted.
excited.
Yeah.
And there was one knob with one tree, and here's the problem. He was walking towards the alders.
Yep.
So
Towards the
that's
river
why
bottom.
I was like
let's
to
just-
take that chance
Yeah.
and squeeze in from 450 to 200. It was 2 or 250.
It was
I think
213.
200. Okay. So to squeeze that distance, running across tussocks,
There's-
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And get there, I was like, dude, he could be in the alders by the time we just do that little 200 and something yard dash. Well, sure enough, we get up there. I think Steve won. I was maybe second place, and then you and Leo were close
Yeah,
to follow
yeah.
because Kobe had camera
He's got
equipment.
70 pounds of pack on him.
I tossed Leo the Insta 360. I'm like, just hit
just
record.
hold it.
Just hold it.
And so sure enough, we get up there, and he's just doing dopey moose things, heading for the alders. And so I just, it was this cool, perfect knob, because down there, it's just hard to get a shooting position. It's hard to see over grass, hard to see through the alders. He was out. There's no counting brow tines. The beauty is, this is what happened when I shot my first Alaskan moose. It's like, do I have to count the brow tines if it's over 50? As soon as I saw it, I'm like, you don't need to count the brow tines. This is over 50.
Yeah.
And everybody, we didn't even talk about it. Everybody just knew this was a toad and it needed to die, right? And
Yeah.
so I just, this is probably one of the few things I've ever shot in Alaska with a bipod. It's like the way the tussocks was, and I
Yeah.
was on this
Oh, wow.
knob. I actually threw the bipod
Prone.
down, the
Nice.
Spartan bipod. I had the Mark V backcountry guide with the little inserts, custom gunsmith inserts for it.
Perfect.
Popped it on there, probably put my pack or my binos under the back. I could have made the 450 shot, Coach.
Yeah.
But it was super stable.
Well, then you would
Yeah.
have to have shot over Steve.
I would no, I would have
running.
I would have as he was running, and just safety first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So he's
started
setting
running.
up there, and I'm like, okay, it's 213 yards. We have that 95 millimeter Swaro that I film most our kill shots through.
That's
Like,
challenging.
it's my cutoff is like, okay, at 250.
Yes.
If it's a smaller animal, I can do it. 300 and under is kind of my cutoff for that. So
Like he would have had just the leg.
yeah, like
No,
if I would have had the antlers in, I probably would have missed for the kill shot.
There's
It's
a point
so
at
good.
which magnification is just too much, and it's
Yeah.
like, especially when everything kind of looks the same, and you're like, oh gosh, I cannot find anything.
It's so hard to orientate yourself in
Yeah.
that. So I went with the 35 to 150, not super zoomed in, but we're at 200 yards. I get my other camera set on my backpack, aiming to him shooting, so I got both my bases covered. Leo's got me backed up on the Insta360, and so yeah.
So I shot him.
let her rip, tater.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we let her rip, and it stood there. It did the old, man.
Yeah.
Just stood there, and then slowly started walking. It was probably about to tip over, but it kind of went back broadside again for a second, and I gave him a insurance shot there. Which same thing I did my elk this year, actually. I'd have died in one shot too, and so basically put 2 in the boiler room. It only would have probably, in hindsight, taken 1.
Yeah.
But he was close to the alders. We did not want him in there where we couldn't see him.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to pack him out of the alders either. And so then he just, like, after the second shot, did he even stand there much longer? Or did the second shot drop him?
He was like, right down after that second shot.
And then what's weird is 5 minutes before that, I had been sitting there thinking I'm not going to shoot a moose, and that's just hunting, right? It's that ups and downs. And then just 200-yard dash, it all happened. And then, in the first film, Steve, like, hugs me. He, like, tackled me. Just absolutely tackled me.
There's a tackle counter.
Tackle.
Right?
One.
Yeah, no, he tackles you, and I hear him over here just like, mwah! He just lays a
He was
big
making
one on
kiss
him.
noises, and it was quite
Adam's
irritating.
just like, get off of me.
That scene's going to be great. And even Leo,
Yeah.
he was cool, calm, and collected. I think it just been several days of just
Yeah.
hard elements.
Y'all were low, it
Seen
sounds
nothing.
like.
We're pretty low, and it went from 0 to 60 in a half a second, and it just everybody was on a high.
I
It
had
was
to
cool.
keep my composure for an extra 2 minutes while I was filming, and then I let her loose afterwards. I was pretty jazzed too.
You were using the guide TI, but
Yeah.
what caliber?
7mm Weatherby.
7 Weatherby.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I went kind of old school with this and went back to the day and was just testing out some new stuff with it. We'll keep it there at that. And so was dusting off an old caliber that I probably hadn't killed something with in a long time. So a lot of people would say, oh, why don't you bring something bigger? It's like, well, did the job. Backcountry Guide TI was perfect for the elements,
Yeah,
and just the
that's a good
titanium. And it was pretty good. It worked out really well. So we got up to the moose, and it was, there's ground shrinkage, and then there's ground growage. This one grew.
Yeah.
And anyways, it was a 67-inch wide bull moose, the largest of my life that'll probably ever shoot. Beautiful
that
paddles.
is a toad. It barely fits in the picture, and there's 4 of you.
Yeah.
I know. It's like I like all 4 of our faces behind it because like that gives you the perspective. Like, okay, that's a big boy.
Yeah, we set up the timer shot and took that. Of course, we did. Kobe really went to town on the photos and videos and he said some of the best harvest photos you think you've got.
That I've ever done.
And
Some of my best work.
And so there's some cool photos that'll come out on that. And of course, I think the filming, and it was just a blast. It's
awesome.
Before dark, and then, but then we had a decision to make. So it was only a quarter or half mile
It is 600 yards, I think.
from the cabin.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But
it was
still-
600
A
yards.
little bit
I think.
alders in the middle,
But
and
you
some
don't have a
tussocks.
giant bull moose that weighs
So-
a whole lot.
Here's what's cool. We went way further than that. Found the moose back towards the cabin. So what was cool is it ended up closer. So it was back towards the cabin, and then the plains though were yet on the other side, about as far as we were from the cabin. Then the plains, it's a walk the other way.
Yeah.
And so we just knew we had to get it back to the cabin. And at that point, we'd said, because it was getting late, it was getting dark, are we going to fully, in Alaska, you can't leave waste, and, it's rib meat and brisket and neck and the whole deal.
All of it.
Everything, and so it just takes, and they're so large. So, it ends
It's
up taking
hours.
3 to 4x what an elk does for us when we're
Hours.
out in the
Yeah,
field, I would say.
Unreal.
And so we knew it'd be a well past midnight situation. However, we had seen so much grizzly sign. We thought the odds of a grizzly taking this, cashing it, would be pretty high. So
it's law in Alaska.
And
if a grizzly gets your kill, that's now their kill. You can't recover from it. It's law. So
when they cash it, when they take it over, you can't go in there.
Yeah, you can't harass them either, right? It's theirs.
Correct.
Yep.
So it's then theirs. So, but the bummer is, about right when it turned dark, right after all these beautiful photos, it unleashed rain.
Water from the sky.
Dumped.
Oh, man.
So we then spent the next several hours cutting and hauling moose till well past midnight. And it just fully, if nothing was all the way drenched by then, it was all the way drenched. And one of the hairiest parts I remember was at one point, I think Leo and Steve had taken a load back, and Kobe and I were finishing the final scraps, just making sure we really carved that thing up, and we're full legal on getting all the meat out. And it was
both our
headlamps were both dying.
Oh, no.
They both had like
and
one bar left.
There was so much grizzly sign. I'd gone down to the river to get water, or like the day before, and it was like when you walk through your yard, if you have a small yard after winter and the snow melts and there's just poop everywhere. That's how it was with grizzly down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm just a little bit paranoid at this point, and we're just standing guard. And here's what's crazy too. So I had my rifle. Leo and Steve both had pistols, and Kobe and I both didn't bring our bear guns, because we just got back so quick from
it was the flying commercial part.
Private commercial, all these things, and it's like, so we
I
could
felt
have
naked without it.
And so that night we kind of stood guard. It was a little eerie, and so but we made it back to the cabin. I don't even know what time.
It was just after 1. I remember looking at my watch, and it was just after 1.
What's on the next day? Do you guys have a weather window, or are you?
No, it's supposed to be bad that day.
So that's why we had to kill that night.
You're not really in a rush.
No, we knew we were going to be weathered out, that we weren't going to fly anyway.
Just had to get it done before bear got you.
That's correct.
Okay.
So here's how this whole story plays out, which gets kind of fun.
I got one more note on the night too. Is I don't know if you've ever processed an animal before and your hands were actually cleaner when you got done. That puts in perspective how hard it was raining.
That's how hard it was raining.
What?
Yeah.
There was not a drop of blood, not a drop of meat, not a drop of anything, even under
you're
my
just in the
fingernails.
shower.
I've not had that.
Yeah.
We did 6 hours of a moose in the shower.
It was wild.
One of the other highlights, or not so highlights, was when I think it was me and Leo did the last load, and I had the head. I put it on a pack frame, put it on my back, and then we get to the alders, and we kind of got turned around a little in the alders. Kobe came and found us and rescued us, and then it always baffles me how you get a 67-inch wide rack through a 6-inch gap in an alder.
I don't know how to do it.
I do not know. I mean, they're obviously so strong, but we had to take it off, and then me and Kobe and Leo
shuttled
sideways.
It was a maze of weaving through these alders with that antler frame on a pack, or that antler on a pack frame.
Yeah.
Through this whole thing. It took us quite a while.
Yeah.
But
I think I ended up doing 4 loads. Last load Steve and I did right before I came back for you guys was we each had a hind quarter.
Moose.
That's like about 130. I had that on the Stone Glacier, and I have a picture of the Stone Glacier, and it looks like it's like a third of the size of the quarter. And then Steve had a 70-pound burger bag and one of those big socks.
Because their neck weighs as much as a quarter.
The neck is like 60 pounds, like legitimately. It was insane. So he carried that halfway, and then I carried it halfway just like over the neck. So it was like a 200-pound load on the last load.
Unreal.
It was
They're so big.
Brutal. It was like Steve and I were like Jim Broing it, then just like screaming, just like you get through it.
Jim Broing it.
I don't know what else.
Some pre-workout.
Yeah. But that was an experience of a night right there.
So it was cool. At that point, we just didn't care. We got the moose. We're starting to get a little leery on if we're going to even be able to get down to Caribou because how bad things are. But we basically knew we had a camp day the next day. It was going to be pouring. We tried to actually hang kind of on the front porch, kind of the moose. Our big thing of the day was we're going to cook ourselves some gourmet moose tenderloin.
Yeah, we are.
And
I had found a blueberry patch the day before.
Right about 150 yards away from where I killed the moose, there was a blueberry patch. And you guys have had Brenda's famous wild blueberry. Blueberry.
I've duplicated it.
Yes.
Yes, or attempted to.
The blueberry wild game sauce that she makes with soy and a bunch of different things and garlic. And a lot of people have had it at our house.
Yeah.
It's really good with moose. You've had it with moose.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So Kobe said, I got a soy packet in my ramen and those blueberries there. I'm going to make Brenda's blueberry sauce tomorrow. Reduce it down. I had instant mashed potatoes that Brenda had packed me, and we were going to do this gourmet dish.
Wrapped tenderloin in coal fat type of deal.
Yeah, we took some coal fat
Yeah.
from the moose, which was good in theory, but if you had too much of it, we found it upset your stomach.
Steve wrapped it a little thick. It was good to have a little bit of it, but it was a little rich.
It looks like that netting stuff. It just looked gourmet, and we were really going gourmet.
Yeah.
But here's what happens. Kobe goes down there to pick blueberries all by himself and took pistol or rifle?
Pistol.
Yeah. Took the pistol, but he knew he was going to be back there at sub 200 yards from
The cabin.
a carcass.
Oh, yeah.
And
So I get through the alder patch. You have to go through the alder patch, and then the blueberry patch is right on the other side of it. So I get there. There's a little rise in between me and the kill, and I'm like, well, I better go peek, just do my due diligence. And so I just barely peek. I'm like, there's a lot of brown right there. And there was a bear laying on the carcass, and it pops its head up. I'm like, okay. Wind was coming to me.
the next morning, there was a grizzly laying
Yep.
on top of the carcass.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had really good
Claimed
wind. Yeah. So
Sow in a cup.
Wow.
I didn't know there was a cub at this point. So yeah, wind is great, just coming in my face hard. I'm like, all right, they're fat and happy over there. They got their kill. I'm like,
hopefully they're
I'm in
full.
the measly little blueberries over here. So I spent 40 minutes picking blueberries.
150 yards away, up over the knoll where you couldn't see him, he spent picking blueberries.
Crazy.
I had to get that stuff for the blueberry sauce.
It was amazing. The meal was phenomenal, and we got some good footage of a grizzly, too.
Yeah, I went back with the Swaro at 150 yards, and that's when I
nice.
saw the cub ears pop up, and I took Steve and Leo back with me, obviously,
That's
just for
fun.
buddies
Wait,
and protection.
one of them, Steve had a grizzly tag, right?
But the problem is, so here's what we had. We had layered seasons.
Oh, yeah.
We had
That-
moose,
that opened-
caribou,
Yeah,
October
that's
1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I don't know if probably can't shoot it.
Yeah, he wasn't going to
Yeah.
shoot
Yeah,
us
yeah.
out.
Right.
But yeah, no, he saw the cub ears pop as soon as he saw.
I was
it.
just
He's like,
thinking
all right,
about
we're out.
sitting
From
on
a
the carcass.
yeah.
you know.
thing, yeah.
Yeah,
So we got away from the carcass at that point.
Yeah.
That's for sure, and let the grizzly just
Hey,
have
y'all
it.
do your thing.
Kobe
Yeah.
ran back with the blueberries, and we had a phenomenal meal that
Oh,
night in the cabin.
unreal. That
That's
was so good.
fun.
Yeah.
I used a little bit of sugar I found in the
Yeah.
cabin, and then my ramen packets have a soy in it,
Some
and so
20-year-old sugar. Nice.
yeah.
All right, so how'd you get out of there?
Well, ptarmigan.
Because you've got...
We went ptarmigan
Oh,
hunting.
there's so many Alaska things. This is
So
amazing.
it was still weathered, and we said, let's just go grab the shotguns, literally put on our drenched clothes, and go run out for an hour and go see if we can shoot some ptarmigan.
Had you seen ptarmigan
Oh, yeah.
leading up to that?
Everywhere.
Have you seen ptarmigan?
Everywhere. Like, you
Hundreds and
land the
hundreds.
plane out there, and it's like, well, watch out for the ptarmigan flock. And so, ptarmigan, if you don't know, it's kind of like it's like the grouse of the Great North
like a
or
white
whatever.
grouse.
Yeah.
A tundra chicken, whatever they call them. And so the bottom line is, in about a half hour, we shot 16.
Oh, wow.
I don't know
Are
what
there
kind of
ptarmigan
footage
there?
I got of it because
They
were
fly
like
so fast.
They were
Running
no.
and gunning.
It was like they were like little kids just running after him, just like there's a boom, boom, boom.
We were
like,
just on a high that
hammering
day
them.
after the moose. So
That's
it's not
fun.
like a gentleman's ptarmigan hunt. This was like,
No,
it's
just
raining,
gotta
we
go
want to
do it.
get back inside. So we knocked down a bunch of them.
That's awesome.
And then we went back inside and had ptarmigan with noodles and stuff. Or what did we have?
No.
Oh.
I think we
Well,
just
the
had
next day we
ptarmigan.
did.
I made the tenderloins with ramen the next
Yeah.
day, and that was really good.
The tenderloins of the ptarmigan, the
Yeah.
lighter
Yeah.
meat right up to the breastbone.
I call them tenderloins. I don't know
Yes.
what they actually
Yeah.
are. The little piece.
So that
off
was
the
fun.
breast.
So
I call
we-
it that little sliver.
Yeah, yeah.
The finger.
Yeah.
We had the Sorex and Element 2 out there.
Yep.
And we just went out there in the rain and killed a bunch of ptarmigan, came back, put on our dry clothes, and then had more meat.
Hey, that's a good time. I mean, the weather's poor. What else are you going to do?
At this point, there's so much moisture in that cabin from us and our clothes that the walls are dripping.
I was about to say, it's going to start raining in the cabin soon.
It pretty much did.
It did. So then,
It's just a tin roof, like no
and
insulation.
then we,
No,
Yeah.
there was it was insulated.
Oh, that's
so
good.
There was like you have your trusses.
Yeah.
It was flat ceiling, and I poked my head up in
Oh,
the
you
attic,
did?
and there was
Oh,
good
wow.
insulation up there.
Oh,
It was a
that's
good.
good.
It was
Otherwise
a
it
well.
would've rained on you.
Was a well built structure
Cool.
for what it
how
was.
old it was. So then our whole thing at this point was, okay, ptarmigan check. We weren't going to fish down there, right? Bear season wasn't open, but we wanted to go reposition more south to go get on the caribou.
We had to get moose meat out and planes refueled.
We had a lot of logistics to go over.
Yeah,
at that
well, I
point.
was about to say, what's the useful load of a super cub? You now have like hundreds of extra pounds than you came in with.
Right. It's mooseable, you know.
If it fits, it ships with those
So
things.
we needed to. What we decided was we were going to go back to that coastal village we were at. We had a place we knew we could hang meat there with this local Charlie that we made good friends with, and so we knew we could hang the moose meat. And I actually had a buddy who was doing a lot of transport work up there and things, and knew we could maybe even get our moose meat out from him.
Oh, nice.
And so we just knew we had to get to that village, and then also we just knew how bad the weather and the wind was getting, and they wanted to get to the village to weather out what was going to be the worst of the storm had not yet come.
Fun. And
Yeah.
It's been terrible.
And so at this point, we knew we might only have a couple days to go after caribou. Once the storm ended, we'd maybe need to go back to this village for a couple days and just wait out a storm, and then go down and start to hunt caribou at this point.
Yep. And so we got
So it's 2 loads, obviously, to the village.
Yeah.
That we
A
had
back
to
and
do.
forth and a back
Correct.
and forth.
Yes.
we got all the moose and every non-essential piece for Adam and I to survive out there. Essentially, if they got stuck in the village, right?
Yeah,
Like
because you got to
lots-
think the
lots of
weather
food,
could come
sleep-
in
Yep.
when they're there.
So when they left, we're like, well, good to know you.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Maybe.
hope you find your dad.
So they did that. We waited around and it packed up and tidied up the cabin there.
Oh yeah.
Got it all
cleaned up good.
done and everything. And so we ended up getting out and getting to the village that night. Found a place to stay that they'd bring in, like they fly in like school teachers or whatever to teach in the villages. And so we stayed in a little school teacher's house that was vacant that we went in for the night. And we had a hot shower.
It was
That sounds
it was
like the
glorious.
Might have been
Best
the highlight
shower
of
you've
the
had.
trip.
Leo
So-
was pretty stoked I got a shower.
I bet it sounds like.
And then at that point, we knew the weather that night and the next day were going to be the worst. So that little school teacher house is probably going to be our home for a couple days.
Wow.
Yeah.
We go to bed, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Hurry up, get out of here, hurry up, hurry. Charlie comes knocking on the door. He says, the winds were gusting 68 miles an hour, blah, blah, blah. And we tied up the planes. And I'll tell you what, Leo and Steve been flying cubs up there for years, and they know how to tie things down, and their knots and their upgraded rope and all of these things. But at the end of the day,
Speed brakes on wings and
at the end of the day, like, weather's just no joke. So literally at 1 in the morning, we hop in Charlie's Dodge, and the most dangerous part of the trip, I think, was on that muddy road to get down to the hangar. He was going so
60.
fast
he
Oh
was
my
going
gosh.
60.
on like a little dirt road rounding these corners and stuff on the mud. And so we pull up, and we see the cubs there, and one of them was bink up on its prop.
Is that bad?
Well, what it meant was at the end of the day, we weren't going caribou hunting.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And Steve probably had some fix-it stuff to take care of. And so, it was it ended up being one of those, in the middle of the night, and you're out there, and it was we could do a whole podcast just on kind of what we did that night to get the plane back down and retie things down. And literally we had to move planes, but we didn't want them to blow
It's
away.
still windy, probably.
So we're like, Kobe and I are hanging on one end, and we got 2 guys, on the other wing, literally trying to weight it down. So as we moved it and pushed it, the thing didn't fly.
Yeah. Because we had to unstrap the one plane because the plane that was good.
It's the wind's greater than the stall
Yeah,
speed.
Yeah,
the one
the-
that was up would have come down if we were to push it down. It moved over, would have came down on Leo's wing.
Oh,
and so we had to
gosh.
completely loosen that, reposition it. What we figure happened is that wind shifted like 20, 30 degrees. And instead of coming head on, it took that right wing and just
The
caught
wind
it.
did what it wasn't forecast to do and just came from a little
Yeah.
different side. So,
Yeah.
Man, that's wild.
so
I
you
was
guys are
laying
lucky
awake
it
in the
happened
house.
there, though.
Exactly.
well, we were awake in the house because the house was
I
shaking.
hadn't even fell asleep. The house was literally shaking. It was that
70
windy.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
So we were up all night doing that, and then the next morning we were down there trying to figure things out, and then there came a certain point where we realized, fortunately his prop didn't get damaged and stuff, but we just realized that the plane wasn't going to be huntable, and so we had to make that call. And, Leo, what I felt bad was like Leo really wanted a caribou bull, and we were going down there and they'd helped me so hard to find a moose. I was, and he really wanted a wolf. And so I was hoping, he was up next behind the trigger. And I just, man, I was more bummed for Leo and ultimately for Steve's bear, which it ended up knocking out too. So he'd kind of been really excited about his brown bear thing. And he just, when we were, that was our lifeblood were those cubs.
Yeah, you got. You're lucky it didn't happen when you're at the little tiny cabin.
We definitely had that conversation that night.
What happened?
Just thankful
be
to
awful.
be in a place with the establishment and other people around.
Right. Even to get the plane down that was up on end, we're like, how are we going to get it down? Well, we end up going around Charlie's shop forever, and he just has stuff everywhere, and we're like, it's not a hangar, it's a shop. 'Cause you couldn't fit a plane in there. It was like, big shop. And then pretty soon he's like, oh, I guess I have this 25-foot gaff pole here. Like, I guess that'll work. He's like, I didn't even know that was here.
Yeah.
So he
It's a big gaff.
I don't know if it's 25 feet.
It was 20 feet.
Dude, it was
It
long.
was 20 feet. Because if you think about a super cub on its nose, it was long enough that Steve could reach up all the way to the top of the tail and hook it. And then
pull it down.
Steve's hanging on the dang
you
thing.
gaffed the airplane
Yeah.
down.
Yes.
Steve's hanging on it, and Leo's pulling on him to try and get the thing down.
And yeah, so
Wow.
so that's the reality of it. I got a video, by the way. Fast forward. Did you see the picture and video here from a week ago?
Oh, yeah.
It registered 98.
And
What, that night?
No.
No.
Oh, another one.
And it
once we were back here for a week or two.
Oh, wow.
flipped
Yes.
that float plane that
It
we
flipped
saw.
a float plane over that we'd seen there, and there was a picture of it, and it gusted 98.
At Charlie's?
Near.
Yeah.
Mile away.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's just this
Insane.
kind of thing of, you never know. You try to play everything as safe as you can while you're in the air. You try to tie everything down and try to do those kind of things and have communication. If you're in the back, and you go through all that. But here's the deal. The only aviation mishap we had was when we were sleeping in a bed.
Yeah.
That's the best
That's
kind.
how you want it to be.
And so Steve's got a little winter project under his hands, I think, to tidy up that cub and, get it back in the air and, flying and stuff. But, unfortunately, that's what happens up there sometimes. And fortunately, we'd kind of gone through everything, and we were safe, and the moose was out. And so, the hunt got cut short at that point. We'd had, because there was a lot of sea ducks down there where we were going. There's going to be caribou. There's going to be hot springs. But it was really at that point, by the time the storm went by, we only had 2 days, I think, that we were going to be able to hunt down there because it was just the weather kept pushing us back.
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Cobes?
We're going to go to a hot springs, on the side of a volcano.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
we
I
had
was
it
looking
planned.
forward to that.
And
but
so, so the trip got cut short, but it was in the end, it was an epic Alaskan adventure, a trophy of a lifetime, the incredible memories, that happened. And so Kobe and I ended up getting flown back by a buddy of mine who was flying around in a King Air and doing some training and different things. So we got a lift back and off this dirt strip in this village. And it was pretty cool. He was doing some training, and we flew in some low passes. And, dude, we went over – we flew over this glacial area where when the water – it's like a glacial lake, but the lake dries out every, 5 years. And then there's all those little –
ice dam burst.
Stalactite-looking things that are icebergs in there. We were flying over, it's like Star Wars action, man. It was so cool. It's like we got transported to another planet. One of the coolest flights I've ever had with my buddy up there. So different guy. So – so we made it back out, and that was kind of the wrap on the deal. We thought we were gonna have a few more mammals down, and so Steve ended up just calling off his bear hunt, and we called off the caribou hunt, those different things. But in the end, it was an incredible adventure.
That's awesome. It's the last frontier. Alaska's just pretty wild.
Wild place.
The peninsula is next level because it's that flat thing, goes out of Bristol, but it's next level from a weather standpoint.
Well, remote weather.
Water on both sides, it's
perfect storm.
A couple days later, Kobe and I found ourselves up in the, north of Anchorage up there, near Hatcher Pass and these cool areas. And we went out because we had the morning, and there's another gun we didn't get to do a photo shoot with, a new launch thing. And we went up to this mountain area, just beautiful, beautiful mountains, did this photo shoot in the morning. And it was Kobe just goes, next time we come, could we come hunt somewhere like this?
Can we go to the mountains, not the swamp? Like
We were going for swamp donkeys,
Yeah.
But it was cool. We got a bunch of friends up there, spent some time with friends at the end, processed some meat, and just, kind of ended up being in town there. Good friends. Leo's wife made us, they're from Louisiana, and she made, they'd shot sandhill cranes up there. And she
Crane
made sandhill
gumbo.
crane gumbo, and just had a great time with our friends up there afterwards, just chilling. So
Yeah.
So Alaska.
Yeah.
What a great trip. So
it was an adventure.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. And congrats on a giant moose.
Thanks. It was cool. Yeah. You strap it to the wings, and I just don't know as a pilot and everything I know about aviation and aerodynamics, like
That can't be very
the
aerodynamic.
parasitic drag, they call it. Super Cubs there's a reason, we're flying in 60-year-old Super Cub airframes out there now, souped up engines and all sorts of things
Sure.
and modifications, but these things are far older than any of us that are flying around. There's a reason. They are highly, highly capable machines that have
It's
been taking
wild.
hunters into the backcountry since before we were born, and they're still up there doing it. And there's the new ones they make. The guys don't take them out there. They're just not as hardy. These guys love the old Super Cubs that you can really fix
They
up.
don't make
It's
them
just-
like they used to.
just like them Mark Vs. I got one of those old ones your granddad made.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Adam.
Yeah. You bet. See you next time.